It's a great day to be a miner. In today's video, we are going to build a brand new rig, sort of. We're gonna move our 6-card 30 series rig over into an 8-card frame. We're gonna put a new CPU and new motherboard in there, and we're going to optimize this thing as much as possible and see how much hash rate we can get out of this thing. It's gonna be an exciting day. It's gonna be a fun adventure. So without further ado, let's spin that intro. Alright, it's time for some rig building. I started out with just a normal size project. I was about to build out a 9 EVGA 20 series, 16 series rig in this big frame here. And when I started to build it out, I realized I didn't like the motherboard I was going to use. So then I thought I'll swap out a motherboard from this rig. And then that's a 6-card 30 series rig right here, 3060 Ti, 3070. I was just going to swap out the motherboard, and then I realized, well, I have an 8-card frame and I have this other motherboard, so let's make this into an 8x30 series rig, and then we'll take the motherboard that's over there. That is a Gigabyte D3A H110. It is a 6-card 6-slot motherboard. Then I'll use a PCIe adapter splitter to turn that into a 9-card rig, which would be perfect for my build. And then we'll go ahead, and today we're swapping all this out. And for this 8-card rig, we're going to use the Asus Prime Z370-A II motherboard. I've already got it slotted in, hooked in. I have a Celeron G4900T CPU. It didn't come with a cooler, but it used, so I got a nice little Darkflash RGB cooler, so I can get some nice pretty vibes on there. It was only like 30 bucks. And then I have 8 gigabytes of RAM, 2x4 gigabyte, 2400 megahertz. It is the Ripjaws. I got that on a good deal from Newegg. And then I went ahead and I tried to transfer over all of my cables exactly how they already were in the other, but this has a different amount of PCIe slots. This actually has 7 built into the board. And then I added an M.2 adapter here to give us 8 slots, 8 outputs. This motherboard is a little different too because it has 2 of the M.2 slots. Probably can't focus in. Yeah, there's the other one. And so only one of them will work with an older gen CPU, and then one will work only if you have one of the new gen CPUs in it. So I put it into the bottom. I'm pretty sure that's what I read in the manual that'll work. So this feasibly should house 8 GPUs comfortably. I did go ahead and fire up the motherboard with just a single 1660 Ti plugged in to make sure that I get a post and everything, but I'm going to try to actually see if this is going to work. Normally, whenever you switch out your motherboard and CPU, Windows might or might not pick it up correctly, and they advise to do a full new install, but I'm going to try to just do the old swap ski. I'm going to hook up all the GPUs at once. I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to see if Windows freaks out. And let's go ahead. Oh, and I added a nice 4 UpHere RGB fans on a nice little kit with a remote. I got these off of Amazon. They were a 6-pack. I'm putting 4 in this rig and putting the other 8 in this rig. That'll run one control module, this will run one control module, and that way we'll have some extra RGB, because we all know RGB adds hash rate. Let's go ahead and start putting this dang thing together. I've got 25 GPUs not connected because I've had to pull different cards from different rigs. I've got this frame, I've got that frame waiting to build out, I got that frame waiting to build out. I've got a couple cards to go in my garage rig and a couple cards to go in my basement rig. I got stuff everywhere. Let's get this put together. This is a cheapo frame that I got off of eBay. I got the frame for only $40, brand new. So it was a heck of a deal. The guy listed it. I saw it within the first hour it was listed. I picked one up. They are now back up to $100. I think it was a mislisting, and I'll take advantage of it. So it's really thin. It's really cheap metal. I mean, look at how thin this is. I have a cheap one over there that's a 6 card, but it's a lot thicker than this on the metal. It did come with a ton of extra screws and all the stuff I needed with the power button, and I'm not sure why they went with the high rise on the middle instead of having the whole thing lowered down like my other rig, but this works just fine. I've already got my risers all hooked up. I got my SSD in place over on the side. I do have my power supply mounted. My ATX power supply is mounted. This is an 850 bronze, and then I'm going to use a 1200 watt HP server power supply with a breakout board. And then I'm going to try to just go ahead and get the power supply in there and then start hooking up the GPUs, and I'm going to put them all in big bang, boot it up, see if it freaks out or see if it actually is going to work that way. It probably, I'm going to guess that it'll boot up, but it's going to reorder my GPUs differently, and then I'll have to go back through the overclocking and all that. And I'm actually adding a second 3070 Founder. So I'm gonna have 7 cards in here with space to add 1 more in the future. I haven't added the 1 more. I don't actually know which one I'm gonna add in there yet. And then I have another 30 series rig that I'm gonna rearrange and reset up as well. So let's go ahead and add our server power supply to this.
Another hand slowly, a child is slowly taken. When the violence caused such silence, who are we mistaken? But you see, it's not me, it's not my family. In your head, they are fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their bombs. In your head, they are fighting. In your breaking, heart is taking over. When the violence causes silence, we must be mistaken. It's the same old team since 1916. In your head, they still fighting with their tanks and their bombs and their bombs and their guns. In your head, they are guided. In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie. What's in your head? In your head, zombie, zombie, zombie.
Alright, so here we are. We got it all hooked up, all the powers ran. This board is running to all of my PCIe risers. I've got all of my GPUs are powered. I've got an extra plug right here I ran for the 8th GPU once I add it. I went ahead and have my monitor plugged in. I've got a keyboard, I got a mouse, and then around the back here I have the 2 power supplies both plugged in, and I've got all my fans plugged in. It is into this here UpHere fan hub right there, and this should be ready to power on. So the thing is, I've added a GPU, I've changed the motherboard, and I've changed the CPU. I'm using the same instance of Windows. I've also changed the RAM. So there's a lot of components changed out on here, and what you really should do is a clean install. But we're just gonna boot this thing up and see exactly what happens. So let's turn the power on from the power supply on the back. The server PSU is plugged in. Both are plugged into the outlet. I don't have the power indicator plugged in on this, so I'm gonna turn this on first. And we have power, and now I'm gonna turn the rig on. I heard a fan hit. I wonder if a fan hit a plug. Yep, I got a plug against the fan back here. I see you. Get that out of there. Not good spot, but okay. Well, my fans are on and looking good. That's a plus. Those actually look really good up here. Cheapos for the win. All right, so we still don't have a display out, but all the GPUs are on, and we're gonna let this thing just sit for a while and see if Windows eventually recognizes all this new hardware and can actually find it on its own. If not, we might have to go and do a 1x1 add, or unplug all the GPUs, boot in, get the CPU and everything to show up, then start hooking the GPUs up one at a time like it was a brand new build. Let's just let this sit and we'll see what happens. Alright, well, we got a display. It's telling me please enter setup to recover BIOS setting, no keyboard detected, which I have a keyboard plugged in. It's a generic. And then it says after setting up Intel Optane memory or RAID configuration was built, SATA mode selection must be changed in RAID to avoid unknown issues. Press F1. Let's jump into BIOS. At least we got to BIOS. So let's drop in the many hours later meme here.
3 weeks later.
So anyway, we finally got this thing up, and at least all the cards are recognized in Windows. The issue we ran into, we went with the big bang approach. We hooked up all 7, we just dropped it in and we powered it up, and we would not get a boot, we would not get a post. So then we reverted back the way you should do it, and we took everything off and we made sure we had a post with no cards connected. We went clear into Windows with no cards connected, so that we at least established the new motherboard, we established the new CPU. Then we backed back out and we started adding one at a time. We'll put them in order on the PCI slots. We got 1 added, we got number 2 added. When we added number 3, we kept getting error, and then we wouldn't get a boot, we wouldn't get a post, we were having problems. We finally got it, number 3 added. Then we went to number 4, and then it started doing the same thing. So we unhooked number 3, added 4, and it added fine. We added number 5, it added fine. So then we added them all except number 3. We went back and we tried to add number 3, and same thing again. So then we thought, okay, maybe it's the riser. So we changed out the riser on this guy. Same thing. Then we tried a different type of riser, and we got a good post. We went with this is an all-wave riser, and I think it's a version 009S. All my side mounts are 8S, and it actually did post, and it worked just fine. So it fired up. So then we're thinking, okay, well, maybe one of my version 8s were wrong. So we went back and we switched out to a brand new version 8. Same thing. The problem in this instance is this specific slot here has a lot of play in it. The PCIe slot itself on the board has a lot of play. It's been wallowed out by the previous owner, and these are the kind of pitfalls you run into when you have a used board or used components. See, it doesn't have as much slop right there. This little board is thicker than the other boards I was using, and it fits in a little more snugly, and the downward pressure is holding it in there tight. The other one, when I would wobble it back and forth, it would have a ton of play. So that doesn't have much play, and so it's making a good connection. It's the actual physical black X1 slot that has all the play in it that was causing me all those problems. So we got them all hooked up. We haven't actually tuned them yet, so let's go ahead and fire this thing up in Windows and see what happens. Let's see. Hit the power on the power supply on the back. So now we should have power to the main unit. Let's power up our server power supply right there, and let's push our main power. Bam, we are into Windows. We'll hop over into our OBS so we can get a better view of this, but we should be able to go into Device Manager and see all of our cards there. Right click on the start button, go to Device Manager, and display adapters. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All 7 cards are now showing. So there we go. We got all the cards up and running. We do have an M.2 where we're going to add a card later right here, but I'm not sure which one I'm going to add in. I have a couple brand new ones still in the box. I think I'm going to use the Zotac Twin Edge White 3070. Because I think that would fit nicely. It'll probably be about the same length, or maybe even slightly shorter than these. Probably the same length as the Founders. So, and then that'll make white cards as bookends on that, and I think that'll look good on the rig.
So much later that the old narrator got tired of waiting, and they had to hire a new one.
All right, finally up and running. Optimized, we're running at 493.4 mega hash. We are at 1185 watts at the wall. That's full system. Here's our beautiful fans. So our rig is up and running. This thing, we've had 3 days to get this thing together. Initially, what we did was we moved the 6 cards. There were 5 Gigabyte and 1 3070 Founders Edition. And we were gonna move it over into an 8 card frame. We were gonna add this extra 3070 Founders Edition and then a future 8th card. Well, we switched. This is an Asus Prime Z370-A II motherboard. It has 7 built-in slots, PCIe slots, plus 2 M.2s, and I used one of the M.2s with the adapter to get the 8th card on. So going back to the original plan that got scrapped, we had 2 3060 Ti's that are these gaming OC Pros. One of them, no matter what I did in Windows, would show up a yellow yield sign under Device Manager with a code 43. So it started doing that. So then I flashed a new version of Windows. Same result. Reinstalled cards one by one, same result. Went into the BIOS, updated the motherboard BIOS, same result. We did so many variations. We changed risers, 3 or 4 different risers. We changed PCIe slots. No matter where it was slotted, no matter what riser, no matter how I powered it, it would always give me the same result in Windows. So I ended up pulling that card out, putting it in our test bench back here, firing it up, and it worked just fine in the test bench. So I moved it to a different rig with other 30s cards. So I moved these 2 3060 Ti MSI Ventuses that I've had for quite a while. moved them into the rig. So I have 2 of those, 2 3070 Founders, a 3060 Ti Gaming OC Pro, 2 3070 Gigabyte Gaming OC, and a 3070 Gigabyte Vision OC. And there's our total build. Oh, and another thing we ended up switching out. We had an 850 watt ATX power supply running the main board and running 3 of the cards. Well, my 1200 watt server PSU was screaming. It was so loud because I had too much load on it. So what I ended up doing was pulling the ATX power supply, and I'm running dual server power supplies here and here. That's a 750 watt on the right, a 1200 on the left, with a ZSX amp. That's running the motherboard, the CPU, and the auxiliary power for my pretty RGB fans. Well, this build is finally up and running, so we can move on to our next one. We've got plenty of building to do. Now that I've built this, I can move it, and this frame right here, the all-wave sluice version 2, is going to have 9 EVGA 20 series and 16 series. I already have all the cards, I already have all the supplies, and we're gonna go ahead and build that out. Also, we have another rig in the basement that we're gonna do a full rebuild. It's gonna be 7 to 8 new 30 series cards, so we're going to try to get it around the same, see if we can get it up over 480 mega hash as well. So let's stop wasting your time, let's hop over and let's try to put a bow on this thing. I hope you enjoyed my build. Make sure you smash the like button. This one was a beast. It was a bear. This rig, by the way, this rig is Cortana. This is Master Chief, and Master Chief is holding. Hi, Cortana. Well, there you have it. The rig is finally up and running. This is not one of those standard rebuilds where you just move things over and you get it up and hashing. This has been a 3-day project of intense troubleshooting. Finally, we got this thing up and running. We're getting 494 mega hash on Ethereum on just under 1200 watts. That's pretty good efficiency. That's good profit from a single rig. Things don't always go according to plan when you are building rigs. Sometimes you can get one, just flip it over and get it set up in a couple hours, and then sometimes you get this kind of thing. But I'm so glad you've came along with me for the ride on this one. It's been fun. If you like this video, you know what to do. Smash that like button and subscribe for future content. Thanks for coming along and enjoy the ride. Pew!